Welcome everyone to your weekly dose of truth tarot with me, Terry Ann Nikitas. So, you beautiful souls, let's look at what's going on for the 13th. So, the 7th to the 13th. So, it's the week of the 7th of November. So, um, in between, we're going to have Remembrance Day. Let me just see if anything's drawing my attention. No. All right, so here we go. We're going to look at what's going on this week. What are the best energies that we can tune into this week? So this is Nine of Swords. Nine of Swords is very, very interesting card. So asking for what is the best for us this week, it's a little bit interesting because Nine of Swords talks about nightmares, talks about overactive mind, where all the thoughts are kind of haunting us. So it might be a good time to, there are ways to do this. You could clean out your house, which helps, stir up the energy and clean out things from your mind. That clutter can do a lot of things. It could do things to, it might be something in your liver, it might be something in your brain. Cleaning out your house is unbelievably wonderful to help all those thoughts get out as well. You just feel refreshed. That's one. Two, you could do a detox. It is a little bit late in the season, but we're still in fall, so you could do a little fasting. There's nothing wrong with doing fasting 1 day a week, just drinking water for a 24-hour period. That's great. I like to do that once in a while. I find it really helps. I'm even trying to get into the habit of doing it once a week, but it's not always possible with going out and meeting people and stuff like that. But it is a good thing to put into practice. So let's say I'll get let's say I'll have my lunch / dinner at 3 o'clock one day, and then I will wait all the way till 3 o'clock the next day before I eat something again. So that's a really helpful way to do it. Or you do, 6 p.m. till 6 p.m. That's also a good way to do it. Anyhow, you could try that out. That's with water. If you put like a drop of lemon in your water, that's fine too. Of course, consult your doctor before you do anything like that. Another thing to do to empty the mind is to meditate, walk in nature. See your psychotherapist, though. One of the things about therapy and focusing on your problems, and as a person who does energy healing, when people overfocus on their problems, they're focusing. What starts to happen is the problem becomes bigger. So one of the things that's great to do, and my favorite thing to do, is shift perspective. Shift the perspective. On anything. It's just looking at something from a different angle. So I like to support people doing that, and that way you're already setting in motion what you need. What else? Eat right, get the proper amount of sunlight, um, water, not too much, not too little, etc. And that's going to help you, shift that thinking. Now you could say, well, yeah, but I've got these obsessive thoughts that keep going. Yep, that's I've had that too. If you start to practice meditating and not focusing on the thought, or reframing the way you're approaching the thought, not buying into it, just kind of going, okay, there's a bunch of thoughts. Thoughts are basically like poop. I'm not saying this is going to 100% work for people, but you're definitely going to see a shift, a difference when you start reframing it, or you shift in perspective. If you look at it from a different angle, if you see it a different way, and if you just stop thinking about the problem. Now, you might say, oh, I can't stop thinking. But if you start telling yourself, stop. So one of the things I noticed that is so helpful when my mind starts doing that, I might not notice at the beginning. I might seize onto the thought and keep wondering. And then all of a sudden there comes a moment where I just go, no, stop. This happened to me when I was about 27 or 28 years old. One day, I was trying to do, I had studied psychology, I thought psychology was great, and talking about your problems was great, and talk, blah, blah, blah. And one day, I just couldn't stand listening to myself. So I just started saying, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'll just go straight to how do I solve it? Even if that solution doesn't work, move on to the next one. At some point, it's going to work. And also, what you could use a technique that's too early. You can always do that. Sometimes you could try something, it didn't work, and then somebody else suggests it to you later, maybe even 5 years later, and you say, yeah, I tried that. It didn't work. Don't buy into that either. Don't buy into it because you're at a different place at a different time. What if that day your liver was congested? What if that day you had a poop that didn't move through and needed to move through? Now it's moved through and you're able to use it. I'm not saying it's such close in time. It won't be very close in time. It could be years later. It could be months later. You need to think about things in a very different way. Remember, timing is everything as well. Well, it's not everything, but it's a huge percentage. If you try to get a child, a baby, to walk before the myelin sheath is developed, and then you keep saying, oh my God, my child's not developing, it's failing, you're going to set up a big problem because the child can't walk till that myelin sheath is developed. So please, please, please reconsider things. Don't kind of look at something as, that didn't work before, so it's not going to work now. What you need to do is kind of sit back and say, I'm going to archive that. I may not want to do it now because we have to also trust that the body might go, how do we know the body is going to do it? Listen to your gut brain. If your gut brain says, okay, that technique didn't work in the past. I feel like it's a no now, but I will archive it. I will put it on the list of things I may need to repeat in the future because maybe I'm just not ready to do that. And allow yourself that permission to not be ready to do something and it didn't work because you weren't ready. It's not because it's a bad idea. So we're listening for cues and clues as to how to move these thoughts out of the way. Just saying stop. I started when I was 28 and I am 30 years later, a little less than 30 years later. No, 38. I am 15 years later and I can't subtract right now. It's not 15. It's 38 years later. There you go. That time frame, you'd think I would have completely stopped listening to my mind. But there are things that happened in my life in the interim that created other neural pathways. So now I need to start almost from the beginning, but things work differently because I'm ready with new information like neuroplasticity, etc. So just try it, practice it. It may not completely work. Archive it. You might need to practice it for a year before it's going to work. All right, next thing in store for us. Here I've got a bird on my finger, and Bird's going to let me look at this. Yes, my darling, don't chew my... Do you want to look at the card too? Here he's looking at the card. He's actually massaging himself on the card because he gets itchy. So this is the Six of Coins. So that basically tells us if you go through a period of sleepless nights, if you maybe practice some of the things I mentioned or whatever your therapist mentioned or the things that you like to do, whether it's jogging, walking, exercising, going into nature, hugging a tree, getting extra sleep, eating properly, drinking enough, getting enough sunlight. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. You're going to succeed. So there's going to be great wisdom earned from the nightmares of our lives, which is Nine of Swords is often representational of nightmares. Those nightmares will teach us how to best work through things that are happening to us, with us, for us, within us, around us, etc. And then our last card is this is 8 of Swords, Eight of Swords, is interference. So interference is such a great word. So we can be interfered with involuntarily. That involuntary interference can be a wonderful thing when that it's the universe giving us a sign that we need to give it a jolt. So let's say this reading today is interfering and saying, look, you need to come to wisdom. You need to see. This is referring, because it's coins, it's referring to the physical world. So let's say for this week, your strongest habits will be stop, go out in nature, walk, ground, even use have a grounding cord that I put around my hand, or you could use the mat and put it with your feet. Let's put that on now. So I'm already grounding. Connect with an animal. Be with your little baby, eh? Well, do you have something to tell everyone? Do you need to tell him? No, you just look at me like, I don't want to do this. He goes, why do you do these things? Well, it's fun. So the interference card, oops, did I get that right? It's a 3 or a 2. Maybe I got this wrong. Ooh, I'm sorry, everyone. Wow, I made an error. It's a 7, not an 8. Goes to show you what your eyes need too. 7, it refers directly to the failure, not just of the mind, but the contents of your mind. So let's say the contents of your the thoughts would be the contents of your mind. So this is really saying, use the energy of the earth, ground, just kind of tell yourself to stop, breathe, take, hug a tree, walk, and that is truly going to help you get into a space where you understand that your thoughts are failing. They fail you. They cause you to fail. There's a big difference between having ideas, being in your imagination, working in your metaphysical workshop. Those are very different things than thoughts. And we often have thoughts in the head and we believe them. Fascinating, right? We got these thoughts, we don't know where they come from, they're just random, they might even be very, very repetitious, and we believe they're true. We believe they're true. Somebody could have a facial expression, and our thought about that facial expression, which is our personal viewpoint of things, tells us, oh, that person is thinking I'm dumb. And we go on, we take it all very, very personally. We personalize everything. We look at everything and say it's us. When you see yourself doing that, start to look at your thoughts and go, wait a minute, that has nothing to do with me, and move on to something. In this case, for this week, it says concrete. Ground, use a grounding wire, walk, move, exercise, do something physical, go garden. It's getting a little late to garden, but garden. Go dig up something. Go work with your hands. Work with some clay. Go do a pottery class. Something to get yourself out of the thoughts. There's a big difference between ideas, conceiving something, versus these random thoughts that often tend to repeat themselves. So, time to let those thoughts fail and have no success with you. Those terrible, terrible thoughts, especially the ones that tell you you're great or you're awful. Obviously, it's a lot better to say you're great and you're good and you're doing well. That's good encouragement. But sometimes we don't believe it. Or you could be the other end of the spectrum where you believe your own publicity. These things, to me, are ridiculous. It is better to think positively about where you're going, what you're doing. Thinking positively about myself, I don't quite buy it. I think positively, I can do this. I can make this happen. I can create, okay, this is really hard. I'm doing it. I'm moving. That kind of positive thinking. That I think positively, like, oh, my hair is so wonderful. This is ridiculous because in 5 minutes the hair is going to ruin, right? There was a few minutes ago where my hair worked really nicely, and then as I talk, it starts to flatten out. The aging hair starts to reveal itself. You know what? Forget it. Those things don't last. They are not lasting. Giving yourself an identity or patting yourself on the back as an approval doesn't do very much. Now, I'm not going into depth with that, but you can understand. You want, hopefully, you will not misinterpret. I can hear people going, "Yeah, but I've been told negative things all my life, so I need to be told positive." Yes, that's a different technique entirely. That is, you have a negative ego. You need to balance out with a positive ego till finally there is no reinforcing the ego. You might say, well, I'm very insecure, so I have to support myself by stating really positive things about myself. Yeah, okay. But it has a very, very limited time span. At some point, somebody might say something, you'll misinterpret it, and you'll start thinking, okay, how dare you say something negative to me? And you become defensive. These are horrible things. The mind is it's kind of a dangerous place to play around in. It's great when you're conceiving of something wonderful and you're moving in that direction, or you're loving your environment. You love cooking, you love cleaning, you love going to work, you love helping people, you love playing with your bird. These are wonderful, wonderful things, right? You pet your birds, you pet a cat, you love nature. But manipulating your psyche and manipulating your ego is probably going to end somewhere in a dead end. If it ends in success, where you've counterbalanced the negative with the positive, you will come to a place where, okay, well, it really doesn't matter. What do I do now? Yeah, because it's a never-ending pathway. It's almost like if you do it really well, you could use positive identities to counteract. But you need to do a lot more work in realizing it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. It is all giving yourself an identity, and we give ourselves an identity, then we are walking targets to be triggered so that we're going to keep looking for someone to prove or disprove who we are. You're the one who needs to prove at some point the realization that you are. There's no word that comes after it. I am that I am. There isn't an I am this, I am that. Forget all that. I know it's easier. I'm being very dismissive with this, but I am something. No, I don't want to be something. I don't even want to be me. I just want to be. And that is everything I have to say for this week. Have a great week. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you have a question, let me know. I'm going to do my best to answer you. Have a great one.